And yeah, again, I think I like to start with the setting of the motivations, right? Motivations. First, we try to settle down, quiet our mind by observing the breath for a few moments. Then we can try to generate the bodhicitta motivation by thinking the purpose of my life is to help and benefit all sentient beings. And to help them to free from all the suffering and the cause of suffering permanently. And to help them to achieve true ultimate happiness. And to be able to help and benefit in that way, I must achieve my own highest potential, the fully awakened state, as soon as possible. And in order to achieve that fully awakened state, I must engage in the bodhisattva practices. And to be able to practice better, correctly, I need to continue to learn, study, and need to be reminded of the practice. Therefore, I'm going to listen. And not only listen, try to integrate as much as possible from whatever I learn. Okay, so then we do the refuting bodhicitta prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chetan Sogi Chonam La Chanchu Padu Dane Gyatso Che Dagi Sheshe Gibe Sonangi Yola Penje Sange Duba Sange Chedan Sogi Sonamla Chanchu Padu Dane Gyatso Che Dagi Sheshe Gibe Sonangi Yola Penje Sange Duba. So again, welcome everyone, and again, it's nice to see all of you. So the topic of the is, as you all know, this extraordinary aspirations, practice of prayer of the Samantabhadra, commonly known as King of Prayer, and is one of most. Is called King of Prayer because the subjects of this prayer or dedications is it include all the incredible bodhisattvas, infinite incredible bodhisattvas, prayer practice put in together in the form of inspiration and prayer by the great bodhisattva Samantabhadra. So the subjects of this is, yeah, incredibly vast and extensive, because it includes all the different vast and extensive bodhisattvas practice and the prayers, inspirations, and express those aspirations in the form of prayers, dedications. So that is the, and again, these come from the sutra itself. There are many dedication and prayers that were composed by great earlier Indian masters and Tibetan masters and so forth. But this particular dedication prayer actually come from the sutra itself. So again, also is yeah. And this prayer, I think many of us, recite frequently, and it's one of the most common, popular dedication prayer that is done in all the monasteries, in all the Tibetan lineage, all Tibetan lineage of Buddhism, every monastery, everyone's do this practice, of dedication prayer. So so then in the title, the King of Prayers, the extraordinary aspiration, the practice of Samantabhadra, in Tibetan, Sangye Molom, The Molom means aspirations or the prayer or dedications, especially prayer aspirations, of the noble activities of of the bodhisattvas by, the bodhisattva, great bodhisattva Samantabhadra. So there, then it start with, before that, maybe let me say a few things. This prayer is very powerful to do when we, to do to someone who passed away, whether it's a person's, whether it's you are doing for some animals, whoever, it's a wonderful dedication prayer that we devote them, because in this prayer, as I mentioned, all the great bodhisattvas inspiration prayer are in here, everything's included. So by doing this, you include so many of the prayers. So this is one of the most common prayer that will be recommended, encouraged to do for someone who has passed away, and also in the monastery, there are also in the monasteries, this is one of the prayer they often does when they do the prayer for someone who have passed away, and not only is for great prayer that for someone passed away, but also it's a great prayer for ourselves, for to fulfill and for the success of our worldly worldly success, especially for our spiritual success, especially for the success of our spiritual path, spiritual practices. In Tibet, in most of the lineage, there is called Molom Chemo, great prayer festivals, and where all the monks come together and they do for days, weeks prayers. And during those times, one of the main prayer they do is this one, the king of the prayer. That is the main, even though they do many different prayers, but one of the main one is this, the prayer of the king of the prayer. So then it started with I bow down to the youthful Arya Manjushri, and that is the homage paid by the translator. When the translator translate from the Sanskrit language, from Indian language to Tibetan language, at the very beginning, they will start by paying homage to one of the holy objects. Here, paying homage to the Manjushri. So then the actual prayer starts. Next one, okay. So it just mentions, as I mentioned, this aspiration prayers, include all the prayers on the bodhisattvas, path, the path of accumulation, path of operation, and then path of seeing and meditations, the 10 bhumis, all those different aspiration of those great bodhisattvas, it include all of that, and so therefore, again, the subject of this is very vast and powerful and extensive. So when we try to, take it as aspirations that we wish to, as aspiration to wish to do that and express in the form of prayers, by reciting that, then it helps us to, awaken our Buddha nature and the Buddha lineage and Buddha awaken, we all have this incredible Buddha lineage or Buddha's potential, the potential to achieve all these bodhisattvas qualities on the path, and then finally the Buddhahood. And so by aspiring in our mind and then expressing it in the words in the form of prayers or dedications, then it really water the seed of the Buddha nature and awaken that. It leaves a lot of positive imprint in our mind stream. Mm. Mm. And so those are and then through that, accumulating a lot of positive energy merit, and through having accumulated a lot of positive energy merit, then we gather the conducive conditions to have a better condition for the success of our spiritual path, our Dharma practice and path, as well as when we have more merit, more positive energies and the virtues, when we dedicate for others, then also it becomes more powerful. So then here, this prayer with the main four outline, the first one is engaging the practice of, purifying and creating the merit for the success of all these prayer and inspirations. All our prayer and inspiration, in order for that to become successful, then of course, we need to purify a lot of negative karma and obscurations, which are the obstacles for, accomplishing those prayer aspirations. And also, in order to accomplish all of that, we also need to gather all the conducive conditions, and therefore that is one of them. And then, second is engage in the practice of the aspirations and the prayer of the bodhisattvas on the first two paths, the path of preparation and accumulation preparations, and then as well as the aspiration and prayer of the bodhisattva, of Arya bodhisattvas, the noble Arya bodhisattvas. That is second. And then thirdly, the benefit of cultivating such incredible aspirations. And the fourth is the benefit of reciting such prayer, which include all these incredible bodhisattva inspirations. So mainly those four outline. It covers those four outline. Those root four outline. So in relation to the first outline, explaining the practice of purifying and accumulating merit in order to fulfill or accomplish all these bodhisattva inspirations and the prayers, so then it is explained according to the, Lama Selingpa's traditions. Lama Selingpa is the masters of the Adisha from Indonesia, with whom Lama Adisha studied for 12 years, and especially on generating bodhicitta mind, especially on the practice on bodhicitta, So according to that Lama Selingpa traditions, then the normal, practice, cleaning the space of your practice, and then arranging the altars, of the the arranging having the altars, setting up altar and arranging the beautiful offerings, setting up the altars, if possible, then there is a statue that represents the Buddha's body, a text that represents Buddha's holy speech, Dharma, and then, stupa, which represents the Buddha's holy mind. And even we don't have those, you can have just, pictures, image, or even you don't have, you imagine that, and then if possible, setting beautiful offerings, such as water bowls, flowers, incense, light, food, and so forth, whatever other offering that you might want to, And then, sitting on the cushions, with the right posture, some with the 7 right posture, and then one you sit on that posture, then generating the bodhicitta motivations, and then starting having generated bodhicitta motivations, right bodhicitta motivations, then making sure that you're going for the because this is part of practice of Buddhist practice, then we take refuge because it's the bodhisattva practice, then generating the bodhicitta mind, so then refuge and bodhicitta mind. And so while we do the refuge and bodhicitta mind, of course, more, sharp-minded, more advanced practitioners, they can visualize the refuge and merit field, very quickly, because they are so familiar with that. They don't have to visualize each details one by one, because they have been so familiar and so good that just by imagining, they can have all the whole pictures of the whole merit field or refuge field all together immediately. But for those who are not familiar, then, as it is mentioned in such as, Lamrim, or the preliminary Jogye practices, then you can visualize, those in more details, the refuge and merit fields, more detail, one can do that. I don't want to go, we don't need to go so much in that, and then you visualize all sentient beings, surrounding you, as is mentioned, is is the all sentient beings of the 6 realms, but in all, in the form of human beings, experience their individual sufferings, whatever their individual sufferings are, but in a human form, and engaging in practice together with us. And as you are leading the practice, and they all are joining the practice together. And especially if we are doing for someone who has passed away, you can imagine that being also with you and doing the practice together. You know, you can imagine that persons or whatever beings, that beings, not only you are doing for that person's on behalf that, actually you can imagine, visualize that being actually with yourself, imagine that clearly, and them also, engage in these inspirations and prayer dedication together. So so in relation to the first one, engage in the cause to accomplish those inspiration and prayer, which is purification and accumulation of merit. Then here it starts with the 7 limb practice, the 7 limb practice. And the 7 limb practice are part of practice for purification and accumulation of merit and increasing the merit. Okay, so that is where, and those 7 limb practice are, prostrations, offering, confessions, rejoicings, requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma, requesting to live or stay or live until samsara ends, and then dedication. So here it starting with the first practice of those 7 limb practice, and that is the first one is prostrations. And within the prostrations, then there is prostrating by body, prostrating through body, speech, mind, and all of them. And the first verse is prostrating through body, speech, and mind all together, through 3 doors. So here, you lines among human beings, saying to the Buddhas, the Buddhas, are like the, king or the god of all the humans and the gods, the gods of gods, the gods of human beings, like the lion who is the leader of the, like the lion of animals, like you lion among humans, gone to the freedoms, and the Buddhas who have gone to freedoms, meaning, who have free from all the obscurations, the obscuration department and subtle obscuration, the obscuration knowledge, and who have achieved, ultimate freedom or fully awakened state. So all the Buddhas, not only of one Buddhas, but in terms of time, all the Buddhas of present, all the Buddhas of past, all the Buddhas of futures, we visualize, we imagine them in the merit field, and not only that, in the world of 10 directions, not only few Buddhas from one direction, but Buddha of all the 10 directions, all 3 times, by recollecting their incredible inner qualities, enlightened qualities, whatever way we can, by recollecting, by reflecting, by remembering all those incredible enlightened qualities, then with a strong faith trust, convictions, then, we bow down, we prostrate, we pay homage, to all of you. With the body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down, So that is prostrating with body, speech, and mind. And prostrating body, speech, and mind, it might come later. It will come later. But prostrations is when we do correctly with the right understanding, such as prostrations, then is the antidote towards our pride. The prostration is antidote towards the pride, in terms of delusion, what it deals with, When we feel I'm better than someone out of that pride mind and somewhat arrogant, when we feel I'm better than you, we would not like to bow to that person's. We will not be willing to bow to that person's. Why should I bow you? And that kind of pride and arrogance doesn't allow us to bow to someone. So therefore, these prostrations is when it is done with not just like a traditions, not just like kind of just a formality, but when it is done coming sincerely from your heart with the right intention, right motivations, correctly, then it is an antidote towards the sense of arrogant pride, unhealthy pride or the arrogance. So there is a physical prostrations, verbal, mental prostrations. Physical prostration, there are many forms, full prostrations, when you throw your whole bodies on the ground. The heart prostrations, when you touch your four limbs and your forehead on the ground, and then there's prostration when you put your hand together and bow down like that, and sometimes when you are busy with one of your other hand, you bow down one hand and bow down, that is prostrations, So there are many different forms of physical prostrations. Basically, all these are physical form of showing respect and bowing down, paying homage, And verbal prostrations is then when we recite, the qualities of the person, of the beings, positive qualities of the being, and praising or expressing the positive qualities of the beings, and then that is the physical, verbal prostrations. And then by remembering the incredible qualities, virtuous qualities of that beings, as well as the kindness, and especially the incredible positive quality of that. And then, when through such recollecting, remembering, and understanding, then when we develop a strong, faith, trust, confidence, and then that is frustration from the mind, So anyway, so that is to all of you with body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down. So then next is, prostrating with the body, physical prostration with the body, with the energy or aspiration for the bodhisattva way, with a sense of deep respect. So again, the motivations to engage in such practice, such as here, prostrations and other practices, is driven by a great energy or inspiration for the bodhisattva way It's driven by the bodhicitta mind, motivated by the bodhicitta mind, with a sense of deep respect to whom all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions of 3 times, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, of the 3 times 10 directions. And that respect, sense of deep respect and trust and confidence, come through, understanding their incredible inner qualities, with such great respect, then, you, and with the many bodies as atoms of the world, and then even though you might be prostrating with one body here, but you can imagine and visualize the whole space filled with yourself, as equal as atoms, and visualize making all of them paying homage and prostrating together. So, because again, there's no beginning to our life, and so therefore there is no beginning to beginningless or endless, and therefore since there's no beginning, we have taken so much, countless infinite life, and so we can visualize all this life of ourselves and then doing prostration all together, as equal as all the atoms of the world. To whom we do that, to whom we pay this respect and bow down and prostrate, is to all of you, the Buddhas visualized as real, I bow down. To the merit field that we have visualized, in front of us, and to that, to the merit field of all the Buddhas, both of 10 directions and 3 times, then we bow down, we prostrate. Again, if we have the faith and trust, the Buddhas are always there. They're always there, from their side, they're always there, whether you visualize or not visualize. But when we visualize and when we imagine they are there, then it helps in our mind, feeling the presence of them, feeling the presence of them. When you don't do visualization, for us, it's sometimes hard to feel the presence of them. For more advanced practitioners, and they can feel present of them, whether you visualize and they can feel that present. But for us, it helps when we visualize they are there, they are really there. So that is the first, prostration with the body, and then second, on all every atoms of Buddhas, numberless as atoms. So there's numberless atoms, and in each of those numberless atoms, there's equal number of the Buddhas as whole atom in each of them, so we can visualize. And not only the Buddhas, together with each admits a host of bodhisattvas, together with all the bodhisattvas. And I'm confident in the spirit of all phenomena, is entirely feel of Buddha in this way. So this is prostration through the mind. Prostration through the mind, So to all the Buddhas, of 3 times 10 directions, who have understood the spirit of phenomena, the emptiness, and who are in deep meditation ego coach all the time, at the same time, functioning to help benefit, simultaneously in deep meditation all the time in the sphere of phenomena, at the same time helping, benefiting sentient beings all the time. To all that, Buddhas was together with the bodhisattvas, feel how Buddha in that way, then, by recollecting, remember the incredible inner qualities, one develops strong faith, strong devotions, strong trust, confidence in that, and that is the prostration through the mind, and so by recollecting, remembering all these different Buddha's qualities, having purified all the obscuration, having actualized all the positive qualities, having perfected all the 10 paramitas, and such as 4 fearless qualities, such as attain, and unique quality and so forth. So such as 10 powers and so forth, the all incredible Buddha's qualities we try to recollect, remember as much as possible. And through such remembrance or recollecting, then we try to develop strong sense of trust, confidence, and faith in the Buddhas together with bodhisattvas. And that is the prostration through the mind. And then prostrating through the speech, next one, with the infinite oceans of praise to you, So by recollecting, having recollect, remember all these positive qualities, infinite oceans of qualities, then, we express that in the form of praise, to all the Buddhas together, bodhisattvas, an ocean of sound from the aspect of my voice. I sing the breathtaking excellence of the Buddha and celebrate all of you gone to the bliss, And then while we are reciting, or this incredible praise of with all these incredible Buddha's infinite qualities, and here you can sometimes it says, you can visualize, because those voice or the prayers, the words come from your tongue, you can, in some community they say, with one head, with one body, many head, in each of head, many mouth with many tongues, and singing all together, maybe it might not feel very comfortable for us. Sometimes I don't feel so comfortable myself. Imagine that, hard to. But you can visualize, as I meant at the very beginning, because we have taken countless lives, so you can imagine all this countless life of yourself, all in human form, together you, and all of them singing the praise, reciting the praise. So, and that can be more easy for us to imagine and visualize, So you can imagine, while it is yourself, but you can imagine whole world, each of atoms and whole world filled with all the reincarnation of yourself, all the past life that you have taken, which is numberless, and all of them in human form, and all of them together with you, together you in this form, present form, singing the praise of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then, making the prostration together. So that is the prostrations. And frustration is a part of the purifications as well as accumulation of merit. Mainly purification, but also part of accumulation merit. It is not only purification, also part of accumulation merit, but mainly purifications. And then next one is, the offerings. offerings. The second seven limb is offering. Now, offering is part of accumulating merit and positive energies. And again, we need to accumulate merit in order to accomplish all these prayers, inspirations, in order to accomplish all our spiritual practice path, in order to be help and benefit to others. The more merit we have, the more positive energy or virtues merit we have, the more we will be able to help and benefit others. So the merit is a conducive conditions, is the right conducive conditions for the success of our spiritual path and our Dharma practice, as well as a conducive condition to gather the condition to be more benefit and help to other sentient beings. So then here, in terms of the offerings, then there's two kinds, yeah. So water offerings, beautiful flowers, and regal garlands, so like the garlands of the flowers, as well as spread out, as well as like made up all kind of different colors, shape, frequencies, and all kind of, you can visualize, all the flower that we have ever seen in our world, and all the human and celestial flowers, all kind of, flowers, sweet music, nice to hear, when you hear it, it calm down your mind, soothe your minds, scented oils, parasols, to protect from the external, internal heat, internal heat of delusions, external heat, as well as, sparkling light, again, as Lama Samantabhadra, which I used to say, you can imagine making the light offering. Sometime when you fly, you can see in certain city, whole cities light up, beautiful light. You can see the whole city light up. And similarly, you can try to imagine the whole space light up with all this kind of light. And especially like, during the Christmas time, you can see in some places, so arranged and with such a beautiful lights. So you can imagine all this kind of light, and then just like sometime when you fly, you see the whole, it's darkness, but you see the whole filled with lights. Similarly, in the whole space filled with all this light, filled with all these flowers, and scented oil, parasols, light, and sublime incense, such as, we can imagine offering, water to wash, water to drink, like the 7 offerings or 8 offerings, flowers, incense, light, perfumes, food, and then music, so you can imagine, visualize all, especially like whatever you enjoy, you try to imagine offering those, especially those you enjoy and things that you are attached to, whatever you are very attached to, you can imagine, especially food that you are attached to, especially music you are attached, special flower you are attached to, special perfume that you are attached to, special light, incense, whatever you are attached to, especially imagine those objects of those attachments, and then, try to make offerings, letting go without any sense of holding, And so again, while we do the offering, is also part of training our mind to let it go and not to hold on that, part of training to let it go, not to grasp too tightly, not to hold too tightly, And therefore, the practice of offering, again, when it is done correctly, sincerely, when we really try to offer from the depth of our heart and by truly without any hesitations, when we try to really let it go, then it becomes a antidote towards miserliness, stinginess, where we don't want to let it go. We cannot let it go, because we are very attached to that, because we hold very tightly. So again, it's training your mind. It's not, sometimes a lot of time people have misunderstanding, frustrating offerings are not training mind. It's just a kind of tradition. It's just kind of external. They think it's just something external. It's due to misunderstanding. When it is done correctly with the right understanding, then it's internal, is training your mind. With the frustrations, we try to reduce the arrogant, the delusional pride. With the offerings, we try to train our mind to loosen up from being holding too tightly and grasping too tightly and letting go of miserliness, stinginess. That is what is part of that practice, And therefore it will be good to, imagine giving up and offering all these objects of our attachments, And you imagine you making offerings, and then you imagine all the Buddhas and bodhisattvas, accept delightfully for our own sake, that the Buddha themselves, they don't need the offerings. But for us to create merit, for us to train of letting go and so on, then they accept for our own purpose. For them, they don't need those offerings, from their side. So, but you imagine, making offering, them accepting and delightfully and enjoying those offerings, and by enjoying those offerings, then it increase, the blissfulness and voidness in their heart, And then also, fine dress, so it's offering of the robes or the garments, and as you see in some scriptures, celestial garments, human and celestial garment. A celestial garment is mentioned in some, it is such that when you wear those celestial garment or dress, in winter is warm, in summer is cooling. It has that. And then when you expand it, it can fill the whole space. But when you try to make it small, it becomes very tiny. So it reminds me a little bit like the pashmina, That is how they're true, how good quality the pashmina they put into the small ring, and whether it can fit and become very small, So it is, and so anyway, so that is how it is described, the celestial garment or the dress, So again, we can visualize human and celestial fine robes or garment of the dress, fragrant perfumes, just by anointing just one small thing, it can, the smell permeate whole world, and sandalwood powder, as an incense, heaps as high as Mount Meru. All wonders offering in a spectacular array I offer to you, victorious ones. So you can imagine all kind of, the offerings of the beautiful objects to the eye sense, beautiful music for the ear senses, perfumes, I don't know what adjective. You don't say beautiful perfume. You don't say delicious. So what would you call perfume? Wonderful perfumes, wonderful perfumes, tasty food, for your, so perfume for your nose sense, food for your mouth sense, and then the objects such as warm clothes for your bodily senses, so you can imagine all other kind of offerings that you can imagine, and again, as we mentioned before, all kind of object that is especially you are attached to, you can make all these offerings. So this is part of offering. And next one is, exalted offering, which is beyond our kind of ordinary beings offerings, So with the transcend offering, peerless and vast, so it is the offering like the bodhisattva Samantabhadras, and it is mentioned Samantabhadra's offering is like, from one jewel, then it manifests in 2 jewels, that from 2 jewels it manifests in 4, from 4 8, from 8 16 32, and then filling the whole space. Start with one offering, and then with that one offering, the whole space will fill with that offerings. That is Samantabhadra's offerings, in such way, And they are able to do through their incredible, concentration and incredible psychic power of the bodhisattvas, great bodhisattvas such as Samantabhadra. They are able to manifest in such incredible, transcendental offering, such a vast and peerless, So even though we cannot manifest them in actual, but we can visualize doing that. Such as Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, they are able to not just visualize, they are able to manifest those offering and make offering like that through their incredible concentrations, psychic power, and merit and practice. For us ordinary beings, we cannot really create such offerings, but we can just visualize, imagine, like how Samantabhadra will do in that way, And with a profound admiration for all the Buddhas, Again, the admirations comes through the understanding. Admiration that is rooted in the wisdom, not some kind of admiration because of kind of blind faith or because someone said, but like through your experience of having analyzed and reflected, contemplated, and recollected through that with that profound admiration is that the profound is something, admiration that is rooted in wisdom, and so faith that is rooted in the wisdom is the profound faith. The confidence that is rooted in the wisdom is a profound trust and confidence. So with the profound admiration of all the Buddhas, with the strength of conviction in the bodhisattva's way, I offer and bow down to all the victorious ones. So with the strength of convictions in the bodhisattva way, meaning the motivations to make these offerings in order to achieve fully enlightenment, in order to engage in the bodhisattva way of life, or in order to engage in the bodhisattva path, having the trust and conviction in bodhisattva practice and the path, in order to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, with that bodhicitta motivations, and with a strong admiration of faith, profound faith and admirations into all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that is rooted in wisdom and understanding, on the basis of that, then, I offer all this offering and bow down to all the victorious one of 10 directions and 3 times, So that is the second 7-limb practice of the making offerings. And again, as it is a part of accumulating merit. And then third is, third 7-limb practice is confession, purifications, So that is here, it says, any harmful action I have done with my body, speech, and mind, So we try to recollect, remember, we try to recollect, remember whatever negative, harmful actions that we might have done in this life to the body, speech, and mind, and many which we do not remember from the past, but which we would have done to the body, speech, and mind, And those harmful, negative action that we have created or done is motivated by, overwhelmed by one of any of the 3 root afflictive emotions. Sometimes it is overwhelmed by attachment, sometimes it is overwhelmed by anger, sometimes it is overwhelmed by the confusion, ignorance, through being overwhelmed by one of those negative emotions, or 2 of negative emotion, or all 3 of negative emotions. Out of being overwhelmed with that, then we create in the harmful negative karma to the body, speech, and mind, such as taking the lives of others, such as taking things that are not given to you, such as engaging in sexual misconduct, such as lying, engaging in divisive speech, engaging in harsh speech, engaging in meaningless, idle speech that only increase afflictive emotions, that only increase your afflictive emotion. The idle speech, meaningless idle speech are the speech that increase our delusion. We talk about things that increase your jealousy. We talk about things that increase your attachments, your angers, your ignorance. And so those are the meanings of idle gossips. Instead we try to engage in something meaningful that doesn't increase those delusions, but hopefully decrease them. So engaging those idle gossips, meaningless idle speech, and then as well as engaging with the mind in the thought of strong attachment or covetousness, ill will feeling or anger, hatred, wrong view, and so forth. So whatever we have done, that by engaging that, it harms others and oneself. It brings harm to others and oneself. It brings pain and suffering and hurt and harm to others and oneself. With such understanding, that we don't want to hurt and harm others and yourself, because we don't want to hurt and harm any sentient beings, which means others and yourself. So therefore, we try to avoid from engaging in such actions as door as much as possible. And for whatever we have already engaged in the past, created and already done, we try to generate a strong regret to that, strong remorse. And then, with a strong, not only regret and remorse, but with a strong resolution, determination not to engage in such action again in the futures. Then, we confess and purify, all this I openly lay bare before you, so in front of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as a witness. So I said, I don't want to hide anything, I don't want to conceal and hide anything that I have done. I lay bare in front of you. This is all what I have done in the past, and I truly regret it. I truly regret it because it's not healthy, it's not helpful, because those actions hurt and harms others and myself, and therefore I regret, I remorse, and therefore also a strong resolution, that I will not, at least I will try all my best not to engage in such actions again in the future. With that kind of strong regret and resolutions, then we do the confession and purifications. So that is the and then this one is part of the purifications, and the purifications, confession or purifications, are part of the purifications. Internal, and is the antidote to the covetousness, ill will feeling and wrong views, as well as the harmful actions to the body and speech that come out of those state of mind, And again, normally, I explain, there are two kind of, I think maybe, there are two kind of regret: unhealthy regret and healthy regret. And this is positive, healthy regret. Positive, healthy regret is you acknowledge, you acknowledge whatever mistake that we have done in the past. You acknowledge and you feel bad about it because you understand that was something not helpful, healthy, negative. It was not something helpful, healthy. You see it mistake as mistake. You see it as harmful, and you acknowledge that. But you don't get caught up in the past, then you move forward. You acknowledge and you regret, and then you move forward. That is the positive regret. The negative regret is you are stuck in the past. You are stuck in the past and you cannot move forward. You cannot let go of the past. Whatever mistake, whatever things that we might have done in the past which was not beneficial, healthy, we feel about that, and then we are stuck with that, and we cannot move forward. That is the unhealthy one. That is the unhealthy one. Healthy one, you understand, and you regret, you acknowledge, you regret, and then you move forward. And that kind of understanding and acknowledgement is important to make a transformation change. If you don't acknowledge a mistake as a mistake, then you are not going to change. To change to happen, you need to have that understanding. So that is that is the purifications. And then fourth one is rejoicing. And rejoicing is part of accumulation of merit. And as Lama Tsongkhapa mentioned, rejoicing is one of the most powerful way to accumulate merit with the least hardship. And there is a story about that too, In Buddha's time, there was one king who invited Buddhas with all his followers for meals, offer meals, Buddhas and all his followers, offer meals. And each time, every time Buddha will do some teaching dedication at the end of that, And so when Buddha asked to whom I should dedicate the merit from that, the king was a little bit kind of embarrassed to ask him to dedicate for himself. He was a little bit embarrassed because he thought maybe he might sound like selfish. So he couldn't ask for dedicate for him directly because he felt a little embarrassed. So he tried to say indirectly. He said, please pray for the person who created the most merit from this, from offerings. So he thought because he was the sponsor, he thought it would be him, So therefore, it is a way of asking or requesting for pray for him indirectly without saying him. And then when Buddha actually did the dedication, she did dedicate for one old lady, poor old lady who was down there. And because when the king was offering, this lady was very poor, beggar, but she rejoiced in Buddha, She felt, wow, how wonderful the king is able to invite all Buddha together with his retinue followers and offer, it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful, May I be able to do that in the future, May I be able to offer like the king myself in the future. But how wonderful it is the king is able to do that. So she really feels so good for the king of this act of offerings. She really rejoiced truly from her heart, sincerely from her. And Buddha saw that. Buddha could read that. Buddha saw that. And through that, she created more merit than the king. The king offered that, but I think he was overwhelmed by a little bit of, arrogant or a little bit of that, his right motivation wasn't as pure as, and that, whereas that lady was with a sincerely. And so that is one example, how just by rejoicing, she created more merit than the king who prepare all the meals, who offer all the meals and everything, So anyway, so the verse itself here, I lift up my heart and rejoice in all the positive potentials, all the positive potential, the virtues of all the Buddhas, again, of 3 times 10 directions, as well as all the bodhisattvas of 10 directions. So rejoicing the Buddha's positive potential, the virtues, rejoicing the virtues of all the bodhisattvas of 10 directions, rejoicing into the virtues of solitary realizers, those who are on the path to the arhat, of the solitary realizers, so solitary realizers, and others, hearers, still training, and those beyond. So those beyond, who are beyond the training, are the arhats, So basically, rejoicing to the virtues of the hearer who are on the path, such as path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditations. Those are who are still on the training. And those beyond are those who have beyond the training, who have achieved the resolve, the arhat, And those four, and then end of all ordinary beings, and also, rejoicing on all the ordinary beings who are not in the path, not all. There are a lot of sentient beings who are not the path of bodhisattvas, who are not in the path of a hearer, who are not path of solitary realizers, but who have engaged in the virtues, and whatever virtues they have. So sometimes it's rejoicing the virtues of 5 beings, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, solitary realizer, hearer, and ordinary beings. So rejoicing, and then of course also we can rejoice in your own virtues as well, And so rejoicing is, in the scripture, they feel, feeling so happy for the virtues of others, the positive potential of others, instead of jealousy, feeling, instead of feeling jealousy, we feel so happy about them, so happy for their virtues, so happy with their positive potentials, In some scripture, they talk about, feeling like someone who is very poor, something who are poor, who find, like a treasure. If someone who is very poor find a treasure, how happy that person will be, how excited and how happy that person will be. In the same way, when we see the virtues of all this being, we feel so happy. We feel so happy for them. We feel so happy, And so again, rejoicing is, again, part of accumulating merit, also is an antidote towards the jealousy. When we truly rejoice in someone's virtues, someone's positive potential, then it is an antidote towards this negative feeling or negative emotion of jealousy, Sometimes when we see the success of others, instead of being happy, we feel jealousy, In the same way, when we see the, positive potential or the virtues of others, sometimes we feel jealousy about them instead of rejoicing. So again, here the training is to not to have jealousy, but instead trying to develop rejoice and feel happy for them, happy for their virtues, feeling good about that. So that is rejoicing. So the antidote towards jealousy is rejoicing. And also is helpful to rejoice in our own virtues. I think I feel like it's especially very good for the Westerners. Rejoice in your own virtues. Because I think in a lot of the Westerners have this problem with, low self-esteem and negative image of themselves. I'm not good enough, I'm bad, you know. I'm not good person, I'm bad person. I'm not good practitioner, I'm bad practitioner. I'm not good Buddhist, I'm bad Buddhist. You know, there's always this. Westerners seems to have that problem more than some others from coming from some other cultures. They seem to have more of that. So sometimes, so when you started to rejoice in your own virtues, so you try to recollect, because when you rejoice, then you try to remember, recollect whatever virtues thought you had, you know, whatever virtues thought you had today, last week, last month, last year, throughout this life, whatever virtues thought you had, whatever virtues, things that you have done, um, whether it's a study of the Dharma, whether it's a meditation, different practice, whether it's the service, different kind of service that we do for different things. Whatever small help we have been able to do here and there. So if you rejoice, then it keep refresh all these positive things that you have done. And when you remember all the positive thoughts and positive things you have done, then when you feel bad about yourself, it can that will then what you call that will help you to see yourself so not so as negative. It helps you to be more balanced. It helps you to see more balance. It helps you to see more better picture instead of just focusing on negative things, just the negative side of yourself. And sometimes those positive, even though we have positive thoughts and things that we have done, sometimes again we forget. Negative things, it remain very strongly. Positive thing we forget more quickly. And so rejoicing is to kind of way of keeping that alive and remembering those things, and that help us to be that can help us to be have less negative thoughts and feeling about yourself, and it help you to be less harsh on yourself. And of course, at the same time, while you try to practice rejoicing those and try to recollect, remember in that, at the same time, also make sure that we don't get, it doesn't lead to feeling of unhealthy pride and arrogance. That is one thing, again, you have to be a little bit kind of more careful in that it doesn't lead you to kind of be in that state, that is so okay, so I think maybe today, maybe I will just stop here. Any questions or comments here? Does anyone has any comment, questions from today? Don't be shy. You can unmute yourself, or you can write in chat. Yes, Pat, I can see your hands going up.
Yes. I'm just thinking about the offerings and what kinds of things we can offer besides the kind of fragrant perfumes. I mean, can we offer, I don't know, the all the things we enjoy in our life?
Yes, you can offer all of things that in your visualization, you can offer everything that you enjoy, especially
Okay.
you enjoy most, things that you are very attached to,
Okay.
Yeah.
My cat.
Yes, we can, because like when we do the mandala offering, we offer the whole
Yes.
universe and everything that is in that universe, including yourself, your body, your wealth, your virtues, and everything that is inside,
Okay.
So, yeah, you can offer, And what is good to offer a cat to be a part of the Buddhas? It is great for the cat. If the cat become the under the care of the Buddhas, under the Buddha's cat, like the Dalai Lama's cat.
Yes, yes.
So,
But
the cat can get all the positive energy, all the virtues, all the positive imprint. So definitely, what is the more best than offer to the Buddhas? Our own cat, is best for the cat, the cat itself. What fortunate it would be for that fortunate, or yeah,
yeah,
yes.
the cat's listening.
Okay, is he or she ready to go to
So
the Buddha? Is
yes,
he ready to become the part of the Buddha?
yes, I hope so. One day.
Yes. Any others? We still have a couple of minutes if there is. Otherwise, we can do the dedications. So again, then I think doesn't seem like anyone has a questions. So then we can do the dedications. Okay. So we can chant in. I'm going to chant in Tibetan. You can follow me, or you can just read the English, whatever you feel, however you feel like. Gewa di nyo do da lama sangye do gyo ne do wa chi kya ma le pa de sa la gue ba shou chancho sencho rinpoche ma ke pa na ke kyochi ke wa nyamba me pa yang kong le kong do pe wa ra sho. Yeah, we can do the English version here. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewels, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And then we also can dedicate for the quick substitution of the Lama Sabodam for reincarnations, and not only that, for the reincarnation to successfully go through all the studies, training, and then continue to be greatest benefit to all sentient beings, even more than the previous lifetime. And may we be continue to meet and be under guidance, spiritual guidance. and continue to receive teaching, instructions, advices, and so forth. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Geshe.
Thank you.
Geshe.
Thank you,
Pat.
Geshe.